So last time we recorded the podcast, we went through about 10 new motorcycle rumours, which I thoroughly enjoyed, Tim. Don't know about you.
Yeah, I always enjoy getting excited about new releases and what's coming next.
Absolutely. So we sourced a couple more because, quite frankly, there's always something. If you scour the internet, there's always something coming next. So there are two here that we found this week, and we'll go through them. But the first one is the BMW G310RR.
That's the one. An extra R makes it sportier.
So it's going to be like a sports version, basically, of the G310 GS or the G310R. Produced, both of them, by TVS, who we mentioned last time round because they bought Norton. I think they already make, or they've got planned for this year, their own take on this, the Apache RR310. And that's, I assume, a bit of an efficiency. It's based on the same motor. But yeah, I've had a couple of looks at the pictures of it, and it's, I don't know, it looks all right, doesn't it?
I think it's pretty, yeah. It's quite cool. Yeah, it looks reminiscent of any other kind of 300 or small size sports bike.
Exactly, yeah.
Which isn't an insult, they all look quite good, really.
I think they look all right. What do you make, though, of that dash? I'll paint a picture with my words for anyone who's listening and not watching on YouTube. It's like a regular TFT dash that you get on a fairly modern bike now, but it's in portrait orientation, vertical. So it looks just like a phone, doesn't it, really?
It's odd.
What do you reckon?
It's strange, isn't it? It's just, I don't know why that's wrong, but it's wrong. It's looking at it just seems strange. Yeah.
It says the race machine is equipped with a smart connect, where the C in the connect is an X, so smart Connect enabled multi-information race computer. So I don't know if it's to show like lap times or something like that. Maybe.
I mean, having it in the phone orientation means, I guess, you can put information underneath the clock, because what I'm looking at the moment is just like a massive speedo, big dial in the middle there, and then underneath there's a big blank space. So I guess you can put whatever you want on the bottom there. If you're going to link it with your phone, maybe, then that's a good way of doing it. But yeah. I'm not sure.
It'd be interesting to know how many of these features will actually carry over to the G310RR, though, because the G310R and GS both, I think, have just like a digital LCD dash in a sort of regular orientation. So the one on the TVS looks a lot more flashy. So hopefully the BMW gets it as well. But looking at some of the features here, presumably a lot of this will carry over. So it's got those sort of twin LED headlights that look pretty cool. And it says that snake fangs inspired the LED tail lights. What is that with all bike manufacturers having to have some kind of like, the Street Fighter V4, the designer said he was influenced by the Joker from Batman in doing the headlight.
Oh yeah. Well,
just do a headlight.
All design has to be influenced by something, though. It's just weird when it's something as specific as, say, the Joker or snake fangs. And snake fangs on the rear. Did you say on the rear or on the front?
Yeah, it's a snake. I mean, they look like they're upside down as well. It's a snake going backwards, upside down. He's laid down. It's a snake going down a water slide.
He's just being dragged along for the ride in reverse.
Yeah.
He's not comfortable, but he's there.
Yeah. So anyway, other features. Let's stop with the silly stuff and get real about what this 310RR is going to be like. So here's some of the features of the Apache. Throttle by wire. I think that probably is on the other bikes. Dual channel ABS, the perfect synthesis of performance and functionality. But it's got brakes, which is the kind of budget subsidiary of Brembo. Those are pretty good, aren't they? So that's good news.
Yeah, it's the same. So when I went out on the G310, I took it out and compared it to the KTM 390 because they're pretty close. I mean, the KTM is faster, but they both got hybrid brakes. They both got single disc on the front. But for the size and the weight of the bike, they've still got really good stopping power. Yeah, it was comparable, definitely. I really liked it. One of the things I do remember from the G310 was that the throttle was a little disconnected. There was a strange kind of thing.
Ride by wire as well, right?
Yeah, well, I believe so. Yeah, it must be, because there was basically, like I say, there was a really big disconnect, and it felt really plasticky on the throttle, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't fully connected to what the engine was doing. There was like at least a heartbeat of hesitation from what your hand was doing to what the bike was doing, which was a bit strange.
Yeah. And I'm looking through the other features here, and it's got a race-tuned slipper clutch.
Cool.
I don't know what that means. Yeah. The rest of it's a little bit specific, to be honest. Yeah, so I don't know what you think, but I read some comments around the GS version of the G310, and you could argue that it might be the same for this, although RR is a more common, pair of letters to use with a sporty bike. But I saw someone comment on the original launch of the GS saying that it's it cheapens the name of a great line of bikes to have an Indian produced small capacity bike now graced with the GS letters. And possibly you could argue the same for this with the old S1000RR. Do you reckon that's the case? I mean, because we're seeing this more and more, like the Asian manufacturers taking over the smaller capacity bikes for a lot of the manufacturers. Do you agree that the G310, I know you didn't ride the GS, but it's pretty similar. It's just got taller suspension than the R pretty much. Do you think it does cheapen the GS name? And will this therefore cheapen that RR pedigree? Because the S1000RR is like, people love it, don't they, that have it?
Yeah, and it's one of the best bikes, I say ever made, and that's probably a huge leap to say, but it is certainly one of the quickest bikes you can buy today. So I get arguments for and against. I do understand the arguments for and against, but I think it's a little precious, especially when it's just two letters. With something like the GS, I mean, it's different if you've got a full name to it, like, I don't know, something like the Ninja, for example, where that name doesn't really mean an awful lot anymore, but it is a name rather than just being, I don't know. Yeah, I could see arguments for and against, if that makes sense. I wouldn't push that too far, but I think it's a little precious to get hung up on the fact that maybe having an RR cheapens your full 1000 RR. What do you think?
Fair enough. I think I agree. RR gets used all over the place, and the GS thing, I kind of get it. When you think of like the original one and stuff, it is a historic kind of much loved line of bikes, but this is just the world we live in right now.
Yeah.
What's interesting about this TVS Apache, I do wonder if it's going to carry over. I know I mocked the Smart Connect system with the X for Connect, but like when you look at the features that you get with it, you get race telemetry report from it. So it's showing you kind of G-forces and revs and speed and altitude on a graph after your ride. You get ride planning integrated with it, and like navigation assistance. You can control your phone, and then you can also use your phone as a dash, in that it's constantly communicating. So you can get extra, you could put your phone on the bars and get additional stuff like maximum acceleration, top speed, average speed, best 0 to 60, engine temperature, weather, the temperature outside, which track you're on and stuff. Like, this is pretty advanced. It's not I don't know, it's not a million miles off some of the features you're getting on like the Street Fighter V4 and Panigale V4, where they have extra sort of track focus features.
Yeah.
Obviously this is a much simplified version, but isn't it just crazy like that this tech is now trickling way down to like
it feels a little bit overkill on a bike like that, dare I say. I don't know whether Possibly. I'd need to know how many G's I'm pulling around a corner on a 310cc motorcycle.
It'd encourage you to try, wouldn't it?
To get to 1G. Yeah, it would.
Yeah, exactly. To get yourself to black out.
Yeah.
And crash.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder what they've got to say about that. Maybe we'll contact them, Tim, and ask them to comment. Do you think it's irresponsible to include G-force? And they'll probably say no, it's physically impossible to black out with all however many horsepower. What is it? 34.
Yeah, 34.
PS. That's all right, isn't it?
It's pretty good, right? So, yeah, again, to relate it to my experience, I really liked it. I didn't think it was severely lacking in performance when I took it out. I did ride there on quite a small bike at the time. I think I had the Kawasaki ZR250. So going up from that, it was always going to feel a little bit faster. If I went there on my new bike, for example, it probably would feel a little bit slow compared, but that's just, a size difference. It depends what your sort of palate is cleansed from going into it. But no, it felt really good. And for the size and the weight of it, it didn't feel like it needed that much more, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I quite like the performance of that, and I think anyone who sort of looks down on it based on the horsepower is missing the sort of the joy that you could have with it, to their own detriment. I think if you just overlook it based on the fact that it's slightly less power than some of its rivals, then I think you're missing out on potentially quite a good bike there.